The views, opinions and information shared during the KCU Services podcast series belong solely to the individuals involved. Any recommendations or advice given during the podcast are general in nature and does not replace the need to seek professional advice where necessary. If you are in need of urgent assistance, please call 000 or the Kids Helpline on 1800 551 800.
The City of Casey proudly acknowledges the traditional owners, Casey's Aboriginal communities, and their rich culture, and pays respect to their elders past, present and future. We acknowledge Aboriginal people as Australia's first people and as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we work and live. This podcast has been recorded on Bunurong land.
Hello everyone and welcome to Season 5, Episode 4 of the KCU Service Podcast. I'm Stephen.
And I'm Tessa. We are some of the friendly youth workers you will find at our youth information centres here at the City of Casey.
This is the third of our series of chatting with professional sporting teams that have a connection to the City of Casey. We're excited to have a couple of footballers from the Melbourne Demons Football Club. Welcome Ben Brown and Tyla Hanks.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Alrighty, so we're going to start off with an easy icebreaker question. Pineapple on pizza.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I'm a huge yes as well.
Tessa?
I have no strong feelings about it, honestly.
Tessa.
Yeah, you got to pick one.
We can't
Why does everyone keep saying
We can't
this?
start off like this. You need to take a side.
Yes, but I wouldn't order it on there just because I have like one order that I eat.
I will add pineapple to my chicken pizza, barbecue chicken pizza plus pineapple. Has to have,
Nice.
and onions, but pineapple 100%.
Beautiful. We're off. We're away.
All right. We know a lot of sports people appreciate what their parents/family have done for them. Do you have any other mentors that have helped guide you to where you are? And what are some of the things they've done to help you become the person you are today?
Yeah, I think my family were huge for me. Yeah, footy is a big sort of centerpiece in our family, and every game we're at, you'll see I've probably got 20 or 30 in the crowd, even for interstate games. So they've been huge, but I think even just a lot of the coaches along the way. I've been really lucky to play basketball as well. But as soon as I stepped into the footy space, like I've seen a lot of female coaches come through and a lot of the male coaches as well. I think a lot of my development as a person, not just in football, has come off the back of people like Nick and Daisy and Jano and some of those. So I think without a few coaches that I had through under 18s and then once I was drafted as well, I wouldn't be anywhere near what I am at the moment.
So a lot of the experience that they've gained, they've been able to pass on to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think footy clubs you spend a lot of time in, and obviously you play, for us we only play 10 games without finals, but you spend so much time together and you're spending a lot of time working on yourself. And I think the way that Mick has shaped our program from when I was 18 to now being lucky to be in the leadership group, I've sort of had 6 years under some really incredible leaders and people. So I've been very lucky.
Awesome. Ben?
Yeah, I think you have been really lucky, Tyla. Been lucky to do some work with Tyla and the AFLW side over the last few years. And I think the coaching group is fantastic, particularly Mick Stanier and everyone who's worked under him. So you have had some great mentors at the football club. You're really fortunate. I think I've had some great mentors as well in terms of football on the journey and also outside of football as well. I'd definitely say, it's hard to go past my parents and the way they sort of set me up, from a very young age with the kind of values that they instilled in me and, just the support they provided me from a very young age. I've had great support from family and also, friends along the way, but particularly since meeting my wife Hester. She's been an amazing support for me and helped, my parents probably set up the base, and I'd say Hester's sort of built the walls and, maybe I'll pop the roof on top at the end. But she's kind of helped again to just guide the kind of person that I want to be. And I think, there was a person that I did want to be and I did want to become, and there were certain values that I wanted to live out in my life. But I think definitely meeting her helped to guide me down that path a little bit further. So I'm very fortunate to have a lot of people in my life that have helped to guide me along the way, and yeah, I feel very lucky.
That's awesome. And creating a foundation like from family is fantastic. So not everybody has access to that. So those that are lucky enough to get that access, it's a real big boost, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely understand that I'm very fortunate to have that support and that not everyone has that same level. I think, one thing that I've recognised in growing up is that there are so many different avenues. I think sport is a great avenue to find those people. If family isn't necessarily where you're getting that support from, there are other places and you just need to put yourself out there. I mean, you're pointing at the City of Casey Youth Services top that you're wearing there, Steve. And I think that's a great place to start as well. There are always people out there and, people don't have the same upbringing. Everyone's got a different story to tell, but there are people out there who want to listen to every story. And I think that's fantastic. It's fantastic the work that you guys do.
Thank you.
Those people.
We love it. We love our job. It's great. Okay, so next question. Can you think of a time that you questioned yourself or ability? And if so, how did you manage to overcome potential adversity?
I think it's probably within footy again for me. I was really lucky to, be a higher sort of draft pick. Yeah, I came in, I was pick 6, which I know sort of only holds so much value. But I think the challenge for me was once I got into the environment of an AFLW club, you do really fight with who you should be and what you want to be. And then I struggled a lot with just confidence within the game. So I was lucky to play a lot of footy and have some really good mentors and support the whole way through. But once I got to that level, I really struggled to know what I brought to the table and see any real value in me being there. And I kind of struggled with all the older players, had so much experience, and I just really grasped with where do I fit here and how can I bring enough. I didn't really feel worthy in a way. So yeah, I think I just spent a lot of time working on that, and it's not an easy thing to do. And I think people experience that in any facet of their life. So I think footy sort of brought that up for me, but then it also gave me a real good space to sort of lean on people and have a really good support network to actually work through that. And it's something that's always going to be ongoing. But yeah, I think constantly battling with that sort of confidence and making sure that I'm being the best version I can, not just at footy, but in all the other elements of life as well.
Finding value in yourself is really hard. And you get that, the older you get, the easier it becomes to see value in yourself. But at the start, it can be really hard. So even at like AFLW level, it's hard to find value or see that value in yourself.
Yeah, it is. And it's very easy to compare to other people. And I think that's always there. But just like sort of what Brownie said, like working out who you are and as long as you're really comfortable in what you stand for and your values and how you sort of want to go about things, I think that's where I sort of have found that real confidence in what I want to be and do.
That's awesome. Ben?
Yeah, it's a super important point, I reckon, Tyler. Like just for anyone who hasn't watched Tyler play, I would recommend everyone does because Tyler's a gun. And the amount of work that she's put into her game from when she started at the football club to now and being in the leadership group, being one of the best players in the AFLW. And the point she's making is that she's had to grapple, and I assume, Tyler, it's true that you'd still grapple with that sense of confidence. I definitely feel that too in my own experiences of football. I think everyone's going through their own internal struggles. I think both of you over there, Steve and Tessa, you could agree with that, right? Like it's
No, not at all.
100%. And,
Definitely.
and I think it's great that we get to hear from professional sports people that, not that it's not great that you guys are struggling with these things in any way, but it's human. It's a normal feeling. And it's great that at every level, everybody has that same sort of struggle within themselves.
Yeah, and I think for me that resilience has had to be built up, and in football you do need resilience. It'll kick you at times and it'll knock you down. You'll have injuries, you'll have struggles with form. I've played 11 years in the league now, and have had a few challenges along the way. I've had 9 knee surgeries. I've been in and out of teams, particularly the last few years, but I've actually been really proud of the resilience that I've been able to show in that time. I think particularly in the last 4 or 5 years of my career, there were times when I felt like I maybe could have gone one way or the other. I could have, chucked it in and thought, yep, I'm not up to this anymore. But I have been really proud of the way that I've always come back, and I've always managed to get back in the team. I've always put my head down and trained hard, and confidence is the key to that, and finding the keys to what makes me a confident person and a confident footballer, because it gets pretty hard if you start fighting against yourself and your own mind first. That's the hardest place to be in, and we've got to come up against opponents out on the football field who are trying to do that to us. But if you're battling yourself as well, that makes it pretty difficult. But we're lucky in a football sense. We have access to club psychologists. We have access to coaches who are trying to make us better people and better players as well. We have a lot of staff around who are doing their best to try to make sure that we're at our best. So, yeah, in that sense, we're very fortunate to have access to all of that, those resources as well. But even with all of that, sometimes it can be tough. So
sometimes you need to be able to be open to listening to others give you that compliment too. When you get that support from others, it's easy sometimes to just push it away and deflect it, right?
Absolutely, particularly when that little voice in your head is loud. And there have been times in my football career where that little voice in my head has been louder than others for whatever reason. But yeah, I think, as we kind of spoke about before, working out the values that I wanted to stand for as a person, what was important in my whole life, not just my football life, has been really important in finding that perspective. So when those challenges do come, I'm not riding the roller coaster of it as much. I'm not putting all of my value as a person into whether I'm being picked in the football team on the weekend, which maybe seems like a silly thing to hear, but for footballers, particularly earlier in my career, I rode that roller coaster real hard. If I was playing well, then I saw that as, I've got more value as a person, whereas if I'm not playing well, then my value as a person is less. Now it's probably having a family. I've got 2 kids. They give a lot of perspective. I've got to be there for them. I want to be a good father. I want to be a good husband. I want to be out in the community and doing things that I care about that give me my value and my self-worth as a person. So that self-worth is less tied to football. That actually makes me a better footballer because I don't ride that roller coaster of self-worth as much, and my performances are a little bit more level as a result.
It's experience, isn't it? And you gain that confidence to be able to face adversity, and it builds resilience and perspective too of what's important.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. And I'm sure you can talk to that too, Tyler. Yeah, it's just time and years. I'm 31 now, so I've lived a relatively long life in terms of a footballer's career. And yeah, I definitely think those years, you just bank up experiences and you get knocked down and get back up again. And every time you do that, you learn something new.
Yeah, it's good for young people to hear that, I think, because they're probably, if they are considering perhaps going into professional sport when they're older, just some good grounding techniques and to build kind of, I guess, their platform and their sense of self. This is a bit of a less serious question, I suppose. Do you have any pre-game routines that you must follow, like wearing the same socks or have the same breakfast?
I don't have too many. I think I've tried to drop a few. I definitely have the same breakfast. Wheat Bix are my go-to. But I get a bit weird, like if we played a really good game with and I wore a certain pair of boots, that pair of boots will continue and I cannot lose them. Actually, last year had some really young girls bring a sign and ask for my boots at the end of the game, and I was kind of just like, oh my God, I never thought some young girls would want a pair of my boots. So I was just like, oh yeah, sure. Didn't think about whether I've got a backup or whatever. Luckily I had a pair, but then I was just in this mindset of oh no, now I've lost the lucky pair of boots. Not too much more than those two, I don't think.
Yeah, less so now for me than I used to be. I remember my second ever game of AFL football. We were on an away trip, had a bit of time during the day, thought I'll have a nice little nap in the afternoon, be nice and fresh for the game. And then I had one disposal kicked at the opposition and got subbed off after half time. And for years after that, I never had a nap before games because that was the thing I couldn't do. Yeah, I don't do that anymore, but not too many routines. There are a couple of strange ones at my old footy club at North Melbourne that I could tell you about. There was one player who came to us at the end of his career. He used to not be able to have any footies touch him before he ran out for the first warm-up. So he was in the change rooms, get very annoyed when his teammates started to roll footies at him and he'd be dodging out of the way. Didn't want to waste his touches before he got out for the warm-up. One other player, he used to go into the team meeting with a cup full of Gatorade and he had to have it half finished by the end of the team meeting. That was his thing. I don't know why, but these are some of the funny things that players get in their heads.
It's routines, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I think a common theme we've noticed is that as you get older, you kind of drop some of the traditions or superstitions that you did have when you were younger that kind of, I guess, kept you going and believing in yourself possibly more as well.
Yeah, it's funny about that, isn't it? The age thing, and the more that you develop, the less you stress about the other things. So this is a really important question, I think. You guys are fantastic footballers and you're doing a great job. But if you weren't playing sport, what could you see yourself doing?
Yeah, I was lucky with AFLW not being full-time. I think it's been a really good thing that through the pathway you've kind of known you've always needed another career. So I finished my teaching degree. I was actually really lucky to do 2 years of teaching in Beaconsfield, so Casey region, and went back to the school that I actually went to as a student. So sort of went full circle and I met some really cool kids and also some kids that have had really challenging backgrounds. But I think if I wasn't in footy, I'd probably be PE teaching, maybe at Beaconsfield still.
It's again an interesting circle to get back into the same school, and so you would have had connections to teachers that were teaching you, right?
Yeah. So I went back and I remember my first day I was in an office with teachers that had taught me, and it's a very different dynamic than sitting next to someone that you sat in a classroom with. But it was a really great experience, and now I get to do a fair bit of coaching as well. So there's a lot that crosses over, but I think I'll still try and keep my teaching degree, and it's great that AFLW is moving to that full-time space, but it's definitely a passion that I want to sort of keep pursuing on the side as well.
Coolest PE teacher ever.
Hopefully. Some might not say that.
Yeah, it took me 4 drafts before I was drafted into the AFL. So I was 21. So I had pretty much finished a journalism degree at that point at Deakin Uni. And yeah, I'd probably be writing about sport if I wasn't playing it. I don't know if I'd do that now that I've been in footy for 11 years. But yeah, I'd love to do something in the sort of social justice, diversity space if I could. But yeah, a lot up in the air for me. And footy's probably not that far from ending for me. So I have really enjoyed too being part of women's footy for probably 8-9 years now. I started out going along to help out at Melbourne Uni footy trainings before North Melbourne had a team. And yeah, I've continued on with that since, just in little roles. But I've really enjoyed that side of it too. So, could maybe see myself doing some coaching down the track if they were to keep me. Yeah,
Of course.
A lot of knowledge that you can pass on. And now that there are 18 teams and it seems to be growing, getting bigger and bigger, hopefully we do get to the point where it's level with the AFL and the AFLW. So cool. Okay. All right. This is our actual last question. So getting off lightly, I think. Do you have any advice for any young people looking to turn sport into a profession?
Yeah, I think firstly, find out if it's something you're really passionate about. I came across a lot of kids when I was teaching that would love to be an athlete or love to be involved in sport. And I think it really does give kids and even us as adults now, like so many lessons in life. And I think if I left footy right now, footy has shaped a lot of values that would help me in a lot of other aspects of life. But yeah, I think make sure it's something you're genuinely really passionate and have a real love for, because once you start becoming that athlete, it's always, you're going to have fun and you're going to enjoy it, but there are really hard times too. So I think if you don't have that goal and that passion that is deeper, it can be quite difficult. But yeah, I think if you want to do it, it's a great opportunity. And I think I'm lucky that I constantly get a space to work hard and be challenged and be mentored by a lot of great people. And now I'm in an opportunity where I can try and help the younger girls as well. So yeah, my advice would be just make sure you're really passionate about it, and if you want it, work hard for it. It's not an easy thing to do, and once you're there, it doesn't really get much easier either. So have a passion and love for it, and then be ready to work really hard, and it provides a lot of great opportunities.
It's a great answer.
Thanks, Manny.
Yeah, amazing. The only other thing I would say too is know that being a professional athlete is pretty tough to get to that point. A lot of people want to do it, and you know, as Tyla said, put everything you can into it if that's your goal and your dream. But one thing that my parents always told me was make sure you've got a backup plan. So they pushed me really hard to work hard at school. For some people, it might be going to university post-school and having that as your goal with a possible career at the end of it. For other people, it might be going to a trade or going to another sort of job, but definitely having a second option and a third option there for you. And yeah, I think as we've spoken about too, like not putting all of your worth into sport as well. Like it can be a big part of your life. You can love it to bits, but making sure that you've got a really holistic view of life that sets you up really well to, you know, as Tyla said, when you do hopefully get your chance in football and it does get tough, that you've got the foundations and the walls and the roof on your house so that you can stay on top of things when things get tough, because they'll get tough in sport or they'll get tough in life. You know, it happens for everyone, and it happens to everyone to different degrees and at different times of their life. But yeah, doing that work on yourself to make sure that you're ready for that.
I love it. So definitely have that backup plan, that support. And I think one of those things you mentioned about the fun side of it too, right?
Yeah, I think like obviously you play sport and the first passion and the first maybe goal to be an athlete comes from just the genuine enjoyment and fun that you have. I think the other thing I would add to it is I've been lucky to coach some of our NGA academies and stuff out here at Casey, and even some of the really talented kids that we've had come through, they might not make it onto a VFL list or make it to getting drafted, and that was their whole goal and kind of purpose. But because some of them have gone about it in a really good way, we've got one at the moment who's a great example, just was such a good kid and worked hard and met the right people and impressed the right people. And I think just in doing that has opened up other opportunities. So it might not always be becoming the athlete, but you might then have another avenue based on, you know, how well you've done in that program or whatever it might be. But there are always little sort of pathways and stuff that you can find in similar.
Yeah. There's so many people involved in sport who love sport.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not necessarily as a player. That might not be where you work eventually, but you might be able to be in a sporting environment 24/7, just like the players do.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a media department or you're working in commercial or you're working, you know, there's so many different opportunities within football clubs if you want to put your head down and work towards that goal. There are people at the football club in our staff that I reckon love football more than me.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they get so much enjoyment around being able to be around the team and provide support to the team in different ways. So yeah, keep that in mind too. And it might be talking to career counsellors, things like that, around what are the opportunities out there, because I know for me personally, I know I'm away around a footy club pretty well, but a whole lot of other businesses, I wouldn't know what kind of jobs even exist. So that's one thing I'd suggest for young people thinking, geez, I want to be a sports person. That's great. Well, you know, what do you actually love about sport? Do you just love being around a sporting environment? And you might be able to find that there's another job out there for you that you can aim for as well.
Yeah, I think the glitz and the glamour of being a professional sports person and what we see in the media and is the team itself and the players, but you don't see the external, like not external, it's internal, sorry. The people that help run that club, that help make the club what it is. And yeah, there's a lot of people involved and they're there for a reason, right? It's the love.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up, but would love to say thank you so much for your time, and we wish you both the best in the season, Ben, that you're currently in, and Tyla, the season you're about to start. Yeah, we wish you both the best, and thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Thank you for having us.
feel free to drop into the KC Youth Information Centres. We are open 1:30 to 5:15 p.m, Monday to Friday, with extended hours exclusive to Hampton Park. Please check out our website for more details. As always, all appropriate links will be attached to the show notes. To stay up to date with all the exciting things happening in KC Youth Services, please feel free to follow, like, and share us on our social media accounts at KC Youth Services.
Yeah.